For those tuning in for the first time, the Money Game podcast is where we discuss business, money and entrepreneurship with guests from all different industries in business. On today's podcast, we have Rye Beaumont. Ryan went from a singer-songwriter who pretty much built at one point one of the world's largest independent musical bands. We talk about the financial culture and the challenging politics within the music industry, and then we'll move on to how he built a £7 million property portfolio which generates £500,000 in revenue from scratch.
Then you end up going down Dream Road way too far. One day it all ends and you're like, shit, well, how am I gonna pay to live? I was always like quite business orientated. I went into music with the idea of building something. It wasn't like I had never touched an instrument or sung a note before I got into a band. Do you need 100, 200 grand a month? Like, really?
Today, we're playing the money game with Rye Beaumont, a beautiful name that actually means beautiful mountains in French.
Beautiful guy.
Yes, welcome, thanks for coming. And I just wanted to start off by asking you, what do you think of the concept of the money game? And what do you think the importance of committing to it is?
I think it's cool, man. I think every kind of industry or any sort of business that someone wants to venture into, you could depict a sort of game scenario out of it. And if the fundamentals of most of those games are money and finance, and having a good understanding and a good grip on the fundamentals of those things will help you like escalate your career or whatever goal it is you want to achieve. You
know, obviously you're into property.
Yeah.
And obviously you was in a band as well, and you're into music, the music industry. Did you ever see that as a game? Did that kind of concept come from you as well?
It's full on like gamified, especially when you're young as well. Like you don't really take too many things too seriously, and your liabilities are quite low. I didn't have kids or anything like that, so it was sort of easy to throw myself at things and treat things much more like a game. But at some point, you realise you want to hit scale or you want to start paying the bills consistently. You then need to go, hang on, I need to watch my cash flow. I need to start.
But still, that's a game within itself.
It is like I don't know, lives on Call of Duty and like getting the packs and stuff off the floor. Like it feels like that when you're collecting money and revenue. It does feel like that sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like it helps with the losses as well. Do you know, when you take losses, sometimes you can take it a bit too seriously. You know, if you get fined or money just leaks somewhere, where if you kind of see it as a game, I kind of realize if you see it as a game, it's just a loss like anything else. You're playing FIFA, you can see the goal, like it's not the end of the world. It's just part of the game.
Yeah. It's damage limitation. Like if you do have kids and other responsibilities beyond the game,
it's harder to see it as a game.
Then it is. You've got to kind of compartmentalize the two things. When it comes to business and you're talking about just growth, or especially if you're young, you can just take the risks and gamify the shit out of it. Yeah.
No, do you know what? So it's amazing to have you here, and it's good to collaborate because I feel like we've got a lot of similarities in terms of, we kind of both got to a point, I think, where we was in a certain industry and we realized that maybe it's, not too wise to just completely focus on that as an income. And we probably got to a point where we really wanted to start taking control of our own finances. So for me, it was, being a footballer and realizing that it's a fragile industry where, a click of things and things can go wrong. So if I kind of just had that as my only income, especially as I had a family and kids now, it could become a problem. So I feel like maybe that was the same with you, with the music industry.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like entertainment, football, those career paths, they can go down the dreamland road a little bit too much, and people get caught up in that, and the psychology of it all can distract you from the everyday, and you start to forget about normality and normal things, finance being one of the main drivers. And if you don't protect that stuff if you don't catch it earlier on, then you end up going down Dream Road way too far. One day it all ends and you're like, shit, well, how am I going to pay to live? How am I going to get a wife and all this kind of stuff? I don't have any money or any idea of paying a mortgage and paying bills. And then you have to play catch up, which a lot of the guys from the band and other people who I've seen through just music, and I'm sure you've seen through football, they finish their career and they're playing catch up for the next 5-10. They should have just preemptively done it, even just on the side, as the main thing. You can still be well committed at football or music, but just like start educating yourself a little bit on money.
It's interesting you said the 5-10 as well, years after the career, because I feel like there's a huge statistic within the first 5 years about like a percentage of, I know, athletes that go broke, and then the percentage increases again at 10 years, at the 10-year point. So it's a really good point. And I know you say maybe as a hobby at minimum, but I even like try and push them to almost. So for me, this isn't a hobby anymore. This is something that I do as well as football.
You're going for it, innit?
Yeah, so I was I'm a footballer and I'm an entrepreneur as well, and so I feel like people should maybe see it as less of a hobby. Because when I speak to other athletes about property and buying houses, it's not, when they're talking to me, it sounds like a hobby. And I think when it's a hobby, they don't take it seriously enough. They don't know the figures of the things they're buying. So I think it needs to be maybe a little bit more of a focus point rather than just
definitely. Yeah, I think hobbies maybe not the best way to look at it, especially talk about something as serious as finance and the kind of liabilities you have on the line if you're guarantoring a mortgage. Yeah, exactly. It's a start and getting on the ladder. I think I've heard you speak before about having some buy-to-lets prior to gaining all this knowledge. At least you got something, some sort of security. And as long as people start down that road, but then it's important not to be ignorant, because are you getting 3% on it or are you getting 15, 20%?
That's literally what my situation was. I was buying as a hobby, and when I worked out, when I got educated and worked out the returns, it was like...
Isn't it? Mate, you're working so hard in these stadiums and training and doing all this and doing football and that for like all your life, for some guy who knows more about money to go, oh, give me that 3%, rather than, do you know what, let's just, actually I'm going to educate myself on that a little bit as well and get 15, get 20, or, you know, crazy returns. You work with someone like Anthony and other people, then just that little bit of knowledge can go a long way, innit? Yeah.
So talk to me about like your mindset at that point where you kind of come to the point where you're doing music, I guess in that kind of musical bubble.
Yeah.
When did you kind of snap out of it?
If I'm honest, I was always like quite business orientated. I went into music with the idea of building something. It wasn't like I had never touched an instrument or sung a note before I got into a band. So it wasn't like a passion for music that sort of developed. I just loved building things. And when you love building shit, you just get excited about ideas all the time. And I was excited about building the biggest band that I possibly could. And we did pretty well. Like we got it to a certain level where I was like, okay, now you can start sort of seeing this would be a substantial business with some serious revenue streams to change everyone's lives, to make a statement in the music industry. At one point, we were pretty much the biggest independent band in the world. It was at 3-4 million followers. We were touring the world. The headline is Shepherd's Bush. That was just unheard of for a band with no capital input, no major management, no record label. It was all grassroots, made from a council flat in Slough for 3-4 years and documented all online. It was like a one-off opportunity. It won't happen again because social media is now so quick. You can't build long narratives like that anymore without being beaten by a lot of money. And through that whole process, you end up realizing the importance of frugality and saving money and watching your cash flow and investing into the business and into the future so that you've got a runway to try and be creative on top of that. But it was hard to depict like what part of the business to really work on when cash flow in music, the same as in football. It's different because like if you're injured, I guess you still get paid. But if you're injured in music, you ain't getting shit. You're like, unless you've got more fragile. It is even more fragile. And I started to realize that more and more as we started to make, ironically, more money in the band for the band. I started to realize how fickle it was. Spent so many years just to get this amount that tomorrow could just go. If I lose my voice or if like the band ends because of internal politics. So I was like, you know what, I need to start tapping into another revenue stream, and tried a few things, but property ended up being just because I saw one of Samuel Leeds' videos on his financial freedom, and I ended up sticking it on, accidentally liking the video, I think, on the band account, and he loved it because he got this influx of followers and subscribers and shit, and then ended up speaking to him in DMs because of it, and then met with him, and he was telling me about these BRRR strategies. I'd heard about rent to rents, but he said stay away from that shit because not because it's a bad strategy, but because where I was at that point, he was like, you want to get into the asset stream. And then just started going ham on it, man. And figured out that I should have been doing this all along as well as music. Not like
so that's actually how the connection with Samuel Leeds came about.
Just randomly on social media. It wasn't you reaching out or him reaching out. It was literally just like a random one where you... saw his YouTube video. And then obviously I ended up DMing him. But it wasn't like... there was no like... it wasn't deliberate. It's just pure chance that the search algorithms on YouTube recommended his video.
I really hope you're enjoying the show. I would just like to ask for 1 minute of your time to tell you about my sponsor whose support makes the show possible, CPC Finance. CPC Finance is a finance broker that specialises in sourcing and packaging a wide range of property funding. You name it, from buy-to-lets to commercial properties, auction investments, property developments. They are everything you'd want as a finance broker working for you on your property deal. They're extremely experienced. They know their market extremely well, which means they can move quickly. They're on the ball. They've been in the game for 30 years, which has enabled them to, one, build very strong relationships with a variety of lenders, which as an investor is super important, especially when things don't go to plan. Deals in certain situations aren't straightforward, which is often the case. They are bespoke specialists. And 2, they have a brilliant understanding of all types of property investing. They know the strategies, they understand deal structures. There isn't anything these guys haven't seen, you know, they're seasoned pros. So if you're someone looking for property finance of any kind, go to cpcfinance.co.uk, and on the homepage you can schedule in a call at whatever time or day suits. So being in the band, you obviously must have come across a lot of other musicians and different bands. What's the financial culture within music? Are you kind of, are you
erratic?
Erratic. So are you rare? Is your mentality that coming out of music, what you have now, is that rare?
Normally it's the manager or the agent or the promoter, or the label. And I can't stand labels. Always was against labels, never really wanted to be signed. I thought independence, especially in this day and age, was the more important thing. But the problem with independence is the artist generally has to kind of make the rules and run the show. Yeah. But a lot of artists don't have that mindset and understand how to run the business. We were different in that sense. And it kind of worked to our benefit with building the social media brand.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think most artists are pretty erratic and just in a bubble of creativity all the time. Yeah.
So in terms of like their individual investments and financial education, none?
Nah, it's rare. I don't know, only producers really, I guess. Because producers are quite good at watching their cash flow and they make a lot of money. Most in part make a lot of money, and they'll typically buy buy-to-lets and things. I know quite a few that do. Yeah. But not performers, the ones as the face of it. There's so much to think about creatively that I just think they get lost in that, and that's the detriment. The same in football.
I guess they've got to perform, so they probably get looked after really well. It's like just focus on that. It's actually very similar to athletes, because we're the same. Like a lot of us don't do anything for ourselves, and agents will just look after everything, so we can focus just fully on football, which I think probably needs to change because. Something goes wrong.
It goes from the top down, right? Like as a musician, especially if you're signed or you've got major management or you've got shareholders. For football, you've got the owners, you've got the chairman, you've got the team, the fans. There's a lot weighing on these few performers and how they allocate their time.
Yeah.
They start spending their time working on their own finances and time away from being at the face of the brand, building the brand, the creative element. Then the guys at the top know, well, that's not beneficial to us and our shareholders. So there's always going to be a massive tear between the two until independence starts to. Yeah. And there's loads of shit like NFTs and stuff like that, which is going to revolutionize music, and I'm sure eventually football, and takes the ownership away from the labels, puts it back into the artist's hands. And that will, I think, the next 5-10 years for music is going to be, it's going to be completely different. Independent artists will take over, just because of that one technology shift. And independence and artists being responsible for their finances and their royalties is going to be the big difference. And maybe the same in football for, I don't know, like you own your name and your shirt and your brand, kind of thing, like
image rights
endorsements image rights. That's it.
Yeah. No, interesting. So did you literally grew that yourself, the band from the beginning?
Yeah, pretty much. Like us as it
was a huge brand. You got I was on your YouTube. You got over 1 million subscribers.
I mean, it still goes up 20-30K a month, and we don't even. I've been posting it for 3 years.
Really? So what stage is the band at? Is it together? Or
dead? Completely gone. Yeah, there's a load of internal politics, and there's a lot of stuff on YouTube, and it's quite interesting to dig into. But essentially, between the manager and a few members in the band, it got pretty corrupt. And this was at the start of COVID. We just headlined Shepherd's Bush. It was that was the top end. I'd seen it coming for a while, and then obviously where touring was then no-go, revenue was shot. We could have digitized and just done online merch and brands. We'd never done a brand deal. We stayed away from anything that could have actually made money. Just relied on touring, and it should have gone a certain way, but because of internal politics, it got screwed. And then I was just like, right, make sure the YouTube, the thing that I personally spent the most time on building as the face and top funnel of the brand, I was like, I'm going to take that and make sure that that's immortalized in time. Yeah. Because there's so many memories.
So you built the YouTube yourself?
Yeah. Built all of it. Yeah. It was a partnership between me and the manager to some extent, but he kind of went rogue. Right. And then me and one of the other guys, Andy, we were consistent throughout the whole band. But I came in with the videography knowledge and from other stuff that I was doing before, and just right, as long as we document and film and create a narrative fans of this nature can buy into it.
Right.
And then eventually, as that plays out, now 8 years later, you can see that brand and visual brand online is everything. If you don't have it, you're dead, aren't you, pretty much?
So where do you have any sort of knowledge about how to build a YouTube channel beforehand, or was it kind of off the cuff?
I'd had a few YouTube channels before, but
to the point to grow it to that level, that's...
not to be fair, we did have the most viewed free running videos, like 300 million on a free running video. We did like in a Spider-Man costume, and we had 2 of those.
That's his face just lit up. When we talk about YouTube, his face just lights up.
Yeah. YouTube's fun. It's my favourite platform. I think all the others are really exploitative, and I hate what Facebook's done and Instagram, but I think YouTube is probably the only one that's still actually good for artists or creatives. But yeah, man, I think, I can't remember exactly what the question was, but forward-facing brand, YouTube, if you don't have it, you ain't got a chance.
What do you think your skills that you've learned from building that brand and the band, how much of that have you applied to business in terms of property development, property investing?
Probably all of it. I mean, everything's attributable, right? Like if you learn something in one business, you can generally move things over to another business. The benefit of property compared to music is it's very A to B. There's linear paths for everything, and there's professional resources you can tap into. In music, you got none of that. Like you might have a producer to make a song, but everything's very speculative. There's no real guarantee. Whereas I know that if you buy something for this value, spend this much on it, you get these right professionals in the right place, you'll get an NGDV, and then you look at your financing options, and you can, before doing anything on a desktop, you can figure out the success of that property within a certain reason. You can't do that when you're writing a song. Like you got fuck all idea how much money it's going to make. So it was quite easy, to be fair, the transition. I think property is made for everyone as a vehicle. I don't think it's really that difficult to understand. It completely depends on what strategy you're going down. Development is a whole new beast. As I'm sure you're aware of by now, it's very different to buying a turnkey investment.
See, with the music side, just for like people that are listening in, and for me as well, because you look at artists, really successful artists or musicians, and you know they make money, but I don't actually understand fully how they make money. So they can get the obvious ones like sponsors and brand deals. Other than that, how do they actually like songs make money? And touring is obviously another obvious one. But in terms of making songs and putting them out there, how do you get paid? Do you get paid for some amount of streams or?
I mean, typically, it changes all the time. I know Spotify's just cracked down on it even more. But say 1 million streams is worth about $3,000.
Right.
You could say, but then, are you with a label who's taking the lion's share, or are you independent? So streaming is definitely one big way to make money if you got the audience. If you're starting out, to me, if I was giving advice to someone starting out, and I've done this quite a lot of people kind of message me and go, oh, my kid wants to get into music, and I'm like, right, what they need to do fundamentally is learn a production software. Don't go into something ignorant. The same way, if you're going to go into property, you need to know about finance, right? It's like the software to it all. You should know how to run an Excel sheet if you're going to go into an investment. And in music, you need to learn that. If you learn that, that's a monetizable skill set. You can then produce for other people. You could do some music engineering for someone, and you can make little bits of residual income on the side whilst focusing on making your music. And then longer term, that's how you start tapping into that revenue stream. And selling merchandise initially to the earliest fans, doing pub gigs. Like we did everything to make money in the early days. And then as it gets bigger and bigger, royalties, generally speaking, are one of the biggest parts, as well as brand endorsements. Personally, I'm all against brand endorsements. I don't like the idea I could put a price on my image. I've never really been for it. I don't think it's bad that other people do it. I can't ever commit to it. Like I'll get someone will ask, and I'll be like, mate, I don't want to. I don't want to say but here's my milkshake. Like, I'm not about that. But those endorsements, I still know people with like 30, 40K them followers, and they're making like 50 grand a year. It's nuts, the money in it. So today it's much easier being a musician than it was 10 years ago in terms of making money. It's just how good are you at joining dots and seeing how to exchange that value.
So in the midst of it, did you guys make a lot of money?
Personally, no. We literally were living on half of minimum wage for about 8 years.
What was that? Because you're making money but reinvesting it?
Investing it all into the band, and then eventually it's because the manager.
So you was making good money, but you was putting it back in?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it was doing about $500,000 a year. It should have been doing about $3-4 million a year, if I'm being honest, because we didn't do a single brand deal, which wasn't because of the reasons I just spoke about. It's because the manager was assumed that if we got those, we'd tarnish any opportunity of a label. Fucking mental. And we didn't ever sell merchandise.
For what reason?
because they thought we would tarnish a label.
Oh,
Nuts,
right.
mate. Me and the manager were just always head on, and I was like, we need to build the business. To build the business, we need revenue streams. We don't have a label yet, so what's the point in caring about what they think about? We're like, it's like pretending we're 10 years ahead.
Why would that tarnish the brand?
Because it's like saturating an image, is what his sort of reasonings were. But I mean, it's just not how it is in today's day and age. Maybe back in the 90s, maybe if you did something with Nike, Adidas might not look on you favourably, but that's just not how it is now. It's where's the attention, where's the eyes? I'll pay for it. It's like a slot. Like a billboard, someone's like a walking billboard now. And we were building a massive billboard that was getting hundreds of millions of impressions a month and no monetization, because all of our views weren't monetizable because they were all copyright second claims to the original artist. So we basically like made really little money compared to what it should have been making, because it was all through tours and selling tickets, which is the hardest thing to do in music.
And the manager's fully in charge of that. Is it his way?
It was kind of his way or the highway in terms of making those macro decisions, but I'd sort of untied him as time went on, because he had another artist that he was focusing more heavily on, and it sort of just got left to me to manage and deal with the band, and then just build up and I was like, as long as we build the eyes, we'll get somewhere. And then the revenue streams have to come, and we started to make those decisions, but then, to be fair, COVID came in and just made it pretty impossible from that point, because we hadn't done what I'd said, which was build those digital revenue streams so that we'd have weathered the COVID storm. And that's what every artist should do. You should have those, the live performance fees and that revenue stream, because it's fun, as well as helps get you in front of an audience, as well as your digital revenue stream, so that it's making money whilst you sleep. And a lot of artists sort of do one or the other, but really you need to hammer down on both.
So it even kills me, when I look at like what you've built, and then probably the amount of money that you've made, and the fact that it's kind of just ended.
It's sad.
Does it hurt? Does it hurt? Or?
Nah, I don't really. I don't really think about it.
Now, ain't you?
Yeah, man. Like, to me, it was always about the experience. Like, I knew the goal was stupid. Like, you want to be the biggest band in the world. The chances are nothing. But we got pretty fucking close. We did all right. And to me, that journey and that experience was always what it was about. I was always big on. That's why I didn't care about not making money personally. I just then took that into property and have now adapted those skills. And now, because I own it, I can be, a lot more in control of the micro and macro decisions, and it's paid off.
Right, so going back, so you started the band in 2015. So obviously, mentally and knowledge-wise, you're at a whole new level now. So knowing what you know now, going back to 2015, growing that band, what did you do differently?
If we're talking about just growing the band, because I certainly would be taking the property knowledge and quickly raising finance and going down that road. But if it's just the band, I'd say have a better contract in place, or just a contract in place.
You had no
guidance
manager on that either, like a...
There was never a contract. There was a speculative contract, but there wasn't really a contract. So like we needed to have, I'd say, have proper delegation from the start. Understand people's roles would be the first way to do it. When you're young and naive, though, that's quite a hard thing to take on board. But I'd say film everything like you did. Raise finance earlier on. Forget labels. Just anything to do with labels, just fuck it off. Because that was the detriment of the band, was banking on labels. As if we just gone and raised the private finance, we'd have got there anyway.
What would that look like for an investor?
Give them a share of the business and the royalties and the image rights and everything that comes with it, and with that capital, we could put that into basically marketing. All a label does is just market the fuck out of music. That's all it's really doing.
But what kind of level do you reckon you would have had to have the band at to be able to get investment?
I mean, where it was when it finished was like ample, but I think even where it was in 2017, 16, even at the early days when you could see we started getting millions of hits on videos, even just vlogs, like us sitting in our living room chatting bollocks with each other, we're getting millions of views. That's when you sort of go, right, well, brands will pay for a spot on that. Definitely. And do you know what I mean? It was very sellable. And I started.
Did you have many approaching you?
Brands.
Or just like even private investors.
I spoke to a few, but again, all of that stuff was, was held by the manager, who was sort of like keeping everything very hush, and I was just focused on building the business. But really, again, if I was to give myself the advice, it would be, mate, rinse him apart, like rip him apart, and make sure you understand exactly who's communicating with us, what opportunities are on the table that he's ignoring because he's hoping for a label. So if I was to give one big caveat advice to myself, then I'd say anything to do with labels doesn't matter. Independence, building the eyes, and then monetizing that. That's what will get you there, not the hopes of a label who basically will, at the wake of a cup of coffee, will decide your fate. It's not worth it.
Yeah. Do you see yourself looking at a lot of musicians that you see online doing things the wrong way?
Yeah, all the time. I look at what people are doing. Same in property now. When it comes to brand, I'm just sort of like, why aren't you filming the process? Like, why? Like, it's so invaluable. Even if it's just because you can watch it back one day, or your kids can watch it back. All those things are so valuable in today's day and age. I'd love to see my dad when he was cracking away in London building his recruitment business back in the 80s. Definitely. I'd love to see that. So that's one of the big reasons why I've always filmed everything. It's not just business. I was just like, if I film it, at least I've got it. It's like a hard memory. But I'd say, I mean, every artist should be filming stuff. Footballers are starting to. There's that goalie, isn't there, for...
Ben Foster.
Yeah. That's cool, man. He's got me into football more.
Really?
Yeah, he's filming it, and I'm like,
That really appealed to you, like what he does behind the scenes?
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. And the Man City documentary that they did behind the scenes, it got me way back into football. Yeah. Because before I just felt too detached from it. In today's day and age, where there's so much transparency in other fields, football was quite slow to it, and music's still quite slow to it. I want to see Bieber's vlogs. Everyone wants to see Bieber's vlogs. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what? It's so like things like that are so frowned upon in like the sports world.
Yeah.
So anything other than football or anything other than the sport you're playing, it's just like.
How did you get on with the fans and stuff for their reaction to your path?
It's funny, you know. Recently, I got a bit of stick because I'd been injured for quite a while. But then because I do property as well, I'm continuously promoting what I do property-wise and putting content out there. And I get people saying, "Oh, is he actually injured, or has he just got time off to build properties?" I'm like, why can't I be injured and build properties at the same time? So you get a lot of that. Oh, he's not focusing. He's, we're the club paying his wages and he's not playing because I'm injured. But what do you want me to do? Just be injured and be sad? That's what they literally want you to do. Just be injured and be sad sometimes. Not all fans, a few. Where I don't listen to it. I can do both. And it's funny because it's just like what's normal. So for example, if someone was playing football and then going out and playing golf for 3 hours a day, there'll be nothing wrong with it, because golf is kind of relatable to football.
Complements football.
It complements football, yeah. So anything different than that, where when you're playing golf, you're swinging for 3 hours, it's not that good for you, bad for your back. But property, when I'm just sitting down and chatting to you, for example, people have got a problem with it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense.
That's weird, but you can't please fans. I mean, you'd have heard of the saying that, when you're in the spotlight or you're talking to the public domain, you don't talk about money, you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion. Famously, those three things, you don't speak about those things because of polarizing public views. That you can never get 1,000 people in a room to agree on a political agenda or on
no matter how
money good or bad.
It
doesn't matter. Yeah, you could rationalize the shit out of it. It could literally be like a life or death, and it's like, no, you really do need to make the money, or you die, and they'll go, "I'll die for my beliefs." So you can't win the argument. And fans, especially if you've built up a following through something fanatical like football or music, I had the same thing, man. You're never going to please them all. So please yourself. And make sure you're doing right by others and stuff, then who really cares what anyone thinks? Because other people who like the property stuff, like me, are now a fan. And I like seeing what you're doing and what you're posting. You change an audience, don't you?
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Because I haven't seen it on yours. Like I was going through your Insta before this for podcast purposes. But then like the difference between your engagement when you was doing the band stuff, doing property-wise, is massive. So it's all about, it's a complete different audience.
Yeah, man.
Now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've never cared about social media. I really, personally, don't use it. I don't follow many people. Most people I do follow, I have them on mute, so I don't have to see their stuff. Not because I don't like people. I don't want to have relationships with people through my phone. WhatsApp is the only thing I'll sort of take, or FaceTimes. So to me, Instagram is just about brand. It's just about getting stuff out there, letting people know what you're up to. I like checking on a few of my closest mates and what they're up to. But as far as the views or what likes they get, man, who gives a shit? As long as you're putting out good content that I would watch, that's how I sort of rate things.
Yeah. So, but obviously, despite where the band is at the minute and what came from it, or you, from the age of 23, you started quite late. You built the biggest independent band, which is amazing. And I think that's a good point for the audience. Like you can start anything at whatever point, and it can become hugely successful. So that's the whole point that with this podcast is, finance-wise, it doesn't matter if you're 50, you're 20, you can start this, play this game, learn the rules, and really excel at it, and just improve quality of life, make more money. So no, it's big respect to you for doing that. So obviously, as you mentioned before, coming out the band really come with nothing financially.
Yeah.
So you started your property journey. How did you, firstly, before I ask about that, what have you got going on at the minute property-wise? What was your first deal?
First deal we got on YouTube, that was a pub conversion. We jumped in the deep end.
Did you?
And we were just like, all right, let's buy a pub. We looked at a few different houses, and then I randomly met this guy for a promoter, and he happened to be a deal sourcer up in Newcastle.
Right.
And we didn't use him as a deal sourcer at all. It was just that he wanted to manage the project. And he was like, I've actually got this pub as well. Because we'd looked in loads of areas. And the pub just stacked up on paper. And we'd learned enough by that point to kind of go, yeah, that's right. You buy that cheap enough. And then you get a contractor to quote on it, which we did.
Yeah.
Even though we'd hardly seen the site. We'd made all these rookie errors. And on a pub, just as the pandemic was kicking in and lenders froze as we completed, it was a shit show. But if it wasn't a shit show, I probably wouldn't have learned as much, because I had to then go, right, hands dirty, let's go, drive up to Newcastle every weekend, and just sort of figure it out.
Was this right at the beginning of lockdown?
Yeah, literally.
We literally would have done a project literally
in tandem, yeah. And then up to this point, we've now built, we've got 6 million in the pipeline of developments completed and in GDV. So once they're finished, it'll be just over 6 million.
So the pub one, how did you get started on that? How did you? How much did it cost to buy it?
130 grand.
And then where did you get the investment from? Did you raise finance?
Me and Dad.
Oh, you and Dad?
Me and my dad, yeah.
Together?
Yeah. That's the first people you go to, isn't it? Friends and family.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, do you know what? Yeah, I've got a bit of money parked there. We could potentially do something. And just put it all on the line. But when I say it was all on the line, it was fucking all on the line.
Really?
Like, yeah, it's not like that my dad would be happy for me to say, we're not fucking millionaires or anything. Yeah. It was fully like, I've got this much, and we were like, it's worth it.
How did you get him on board?
I think he just believed in me, if I'm honest. I think he just believed in me and the process. And he was like, look, at the end of the day, it looks like it works. The pub itself, the asset and its merits work. And you've gone out and found the team. And between me and him, it was then just continuous for that first year. And then we did another one. So we wanted to make sure, because my dad's been in the investment game a long time, in the city for hedge funds and things like that. It's a different sort of world. But with this, we were like, we have to put our own skin on the line first.
Yeah.
Prove the model, which I think anyone should do. I hate seeing people out there promoting property courses and all this kind of shit and saying use other people's money initially. That isn't, like, to me, that's just not the way to do it. If you've got no experience and you're going to go and take someone else's money into developments, which are inherently risky, it's like, I think there's an irresponsible line there. If you've got someone on the team who's got a lot of responsibility, a lot of knowledge, or you're giving guarantors, like, there's ways of sweetening it. Yeah. But I generally think you should be putting your own arse on the line first if you're doing development.
But what if they don't have anything?
Then do rent to rents. Do something like that. Do something that's lower risk.
Right.
But yeah, if we were to jump into that first one with investors, it just wouldn't have been the right thing to do. So we knew we had to do it ourselves, then prove the model, then get investors.
Yeah.
And because we got a case study, and by that point we had 3 case studies. So then we were like, okay, now let's get the investment, and now we're just rolling in different layers of finance.
Yeah. So you got investors in your newer projects?
Yeah.
In all of them, or?
Well, no, 3 of them aren't. That's our money rolling over, and all the others. So there's 6 others. We're about to get another. We're looking to buy 4 more at the moment. Yeah. I want to get 10 this year, not just because I love numbers, but because the way I think our capacity could go.
Wow.
Try to get another 10, and then that will put us in a tidy position for next year and make myself, my dad, our family, and our initial business partners completely independent of any other walk of life. Yeah. So then we can go, cool, now we can just work on the business and just scale it up from there. Yeah.
No, I'm glad you said that, because I think that's a tricky point that a lot of people get stuck at. Or even, they don't even get stuck, they don't even get started to be able to get stuck, because straight away they think, I can't get into property because I don't have any money. Or I have little money, not enough. Whereas straight away, when you had the same problem, you went to your power base straight away. Your power base is just, who do you know?
Yeah, mate, leverage what you got.
Your dad, your uncle, your mum, your best friend. I think people shop too much property-wise based on their own budget, rather than anything that's outside of your budget. You can get access to. Get a piece of paper down, write a list of everyone that you feel could have a little bit of money.
And speak to everyone about it.
Speak to everyone about it.
That's the main thing. If you don't speak to people, it's one of those games, property. Everyone lives in a property. Everyone rents or owns something.
Like, so everyone knows it to some degree. It's not a whole complete new concept. Like,
exactly.
When you talk about crypto, I'm like, what's crypto?
Yeah. That's
everyone knows how property works.
Yeah.
Buy property, the tenants pay to live there, and you're left over with a profit. Just,
and there's mortgage and shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone knows. So speak to everyone about it. It's just a numbers game. Speak to 10 people you know. One of them will go, "Oh, interesting. Like, I want to buy to that." Like, you just will. It's a weird thing when you get into property. You get the bug for it, and it becomes like habitual to just go, "Oh, hey, I'm Ryan. Yeah, I do property," and then I hate doing it. But when people ask me what I do, I'm like, "Yeah, well, I do property. Here we go down the rabbit hole," because everyone wants to talk about it and understand it. It's quite cool.
If your dad, for whatever reason, didn't get involved, where would you have went after?
I would have probably, I had like a little bit of cash because I was frugal in the band, like made no money, but anything I had, I just parked that shit, put it in my ISA. Then I ended up selling all my ISA and my car to put the money into the property stuff. I was literally like, "Dad, I'll put everything on the line. Yeah. I'll put it all down, and then let's hope it works."
Yeah, and you had the deal already at this point.
Yeah.
And you were just that convinced on the deal.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really have another option. The band was gone. I had no other means of income. Yeah. And it was kind of like, I think this thing could work. And it was just an all-in approach, and it paid off. So
yeah. What level of education did you have at the time?
None.
Completely fresh?
I've never done a course.
How did you find the deal?
Never done anything. Randomly, because speaking to people about property, one of our promoters, a guy who was tour managing with us, who was also a promoter. Yeah. His mate Mark was doing deal sourcing in Newcastle. Like, not deal sourcing like you see these guys doing our professional stuff. He just found a few stuff for some of his mates, and he was like, "Oh, you come up to Newcastle, man, if you like property." I was like, "Yeah, I like property." And then went up there, viewed a load of stuff. Didn't really like some of the houses, thought they're too expensive. And then he did say, "I've got this pub." And at that point, I was like, "All right, well, it's a bit riskier getting a pub compared to a house." So I understood that much. Yeah. I understood the strategy, the buy refurb refinance, and my dad. He was a mortgage broker at one point, so he understood the financing back end, which obviously made life a lot easier. Yeah. So we could appraise the deal properly. But understanding the costs, planning permission, all that other shit, all of that was just completely new and fresh. And then he was like, "I got this pub," and I was like, and it was 2 weeks till the auction day. And we managed to just secure it pre-auction. I swear to God, 1 minute, I swear to God, I screenshotted it so I could keep it forever. 1 minute before the auction was about to start. So it would have closed on the Monday, it would have ended where we could have got it pre-auction. It would have gone to the floor on the Tuesday. Yeah. We got it 1 minute before 5:30, and the agent's literally on the phone like, "You haven't sent the money. You got to send it over, or you ain't going to get it pre-auction." And we were like, "We're doing it. And we sent the deposit over 14, I think it was 14 something, including the fee. And it just went over, and then they sent back the email at 5:29 that day, and I screenshot it and went, "Fucking hell." That's a bit like skin of the teeth. But and then that's it, we were tied in then. Because at auction, you have to commit. Yeah.
So what were the numbers on that deal?
130 grand in. I can't remember the exact numbers now. I've got a YouTube video that kind of does the whole breakdown. But 130 purchase. I think we were 450 all in on costs, or just over. Yeah. And then 700
how much was
value.
The conversion?
280.
280.
280, okay. And then 700 value.
Jeez.
So it was a naughty project. I mean, that one project, I could just live the rest of my life off that one project.
You know it was going to be worth 700?
No. Well, yes, we thought 555 or something like that. Yeah. It was a weird number based on the GDV. And then throughout the pandemic, we were like, "Oh fuck, the value's going to get shot." Yeah. The values went up. So we were like, "Oh, okay, that's pretty lucky." But although the values went up, the costs also went up because we had delayed sites, 4 months delayed on the main supply. Council's not coming to site visits. We had to close down the road. It was a nightmare. So it could have been a much better deal, but it was still a pretty amazing deal.
Yeah. So you bought it for 130, all in 450.
Yeah, it's just over 450. Yeah.
GDV 700. You kept 700.
It. Yeah. We keep our whole strategy is retention. Yeah. I think selling is like being in the inventory game. You're not actually benefiting from the vehicle. Like, what's the point in choosing the asset class if you're going to sell it? I never understand the flip strategy. Yeah. For me, for other people, I guess it makes sense.
So you refinanced?
Yeah, refinanced.
How much did you put out? Everything?
Near enough everything, because we got stunted on the LTV because it was COVID. Right. But if we could refinance it whenever and pull the rest.
What LTV did you get?
I think we got 60%.
60, okay.
60% on it.
That's a killer deal, you know.
Mate, it's naughty, yeah. It was.
Is that your best one today?
Fucking lucky, yeah, probably. Probably. We were doing one at the moment, which when we bought, we didn't really know, because I like auction purchases, but typically means you're going in blind at some angle. Yeah. And we bought this one, and I was like, I know it's an 8-bedder, but there was a problem with the viewings, so we didn't really get to view it properly. It turns out it'll be a 10-bedder with 2 kitchens, really nice, 120 grand. It'll be worth about 420 with 130 grand spent. So it's going to be a nice. That'll probably be better than the pub. But the pub, in terms of its size and and in terms of the conditions, like we could have been killed off when we started with the pub if the contractors would have screwed us. But we just focused on relationships, keeping everyone happy, making sure we paid the contractor at all costs. Pay the contractor, and then at least he'll look after us, and we'll get it finished.
Yeah. So on that, did you buy it and then you got lending on the refurb?
No, we got lending, but then it froze. So we basically had to find money and trickle it in to keep the contractor turning over.
It's crazy how similar our stories are, you know.
Is it? Yeah, I'm assuming you had lenders freeze as well.
Literally exactly the same. Yeah, and because I was a student accommodation at the time, because it has to be delivered for
a certain
window, we had the choice as either leave it here and then not do anything with it for a whole year, or self-fund it to keep the program running. Hopefully the lender comes back in when things calm down. This is exactly what happened.
Yeah, mate, it's a scary thing, man. When you're like, cool, well, these are the guys that are going to pay for everything. Oh, fuck, they're gone. They're not going to pay for shit.
You know, for me, it wasn't even scary. I was like, oh shit, this is the money game. I was like, this is because I was like so excited to get involved in something, especially of that size. It's 48 studios. Everything to me was exciting. Even the nitty gritty parts of it, you know, having to self-fund it more. Okay, at times it was a bit of a tough one because at the time I was a free agent as well. So I was like continuously pouring money into this. But there was just like an enjoyment the whole time. And I just had confidence.
And you know it's going to work. It's bricks and mortar. It's going to work. It will and it will eventually work.
Yeah, at the end of the day we had the land. Do you know what I mean? It's not like a stock or share where it can just disappear.
That's the thing, mate.
You're always going to have something.
That conversation, that specific conversation is what's helping us with investment a lot. Is where people are seeing the volatility in the market and asset prices are just staying stronger and stronger and rents are going up. Government's making some silly decisions and it's meaning rents going up, which is harder for tenants in some areas, but it means if you do an affordable accommodation like HMOs or apartments, then you're just going to win from this situation. I mean, assets in general, when it comes to property or commercial property, they're just going to keep winning.
So have you, other than property, have you gone into anything else?
I am big into crypto, not in terms of like my stake in it. I've got like a few grand in crypto, but I find I love the technology behind it. Like I'm very engineer based. I love knowing how things work. I don't actually really give a shit about money. I just love how things work and building things. And to me, I can see an avenue in crypto for property. And there's a few conversations we're having internally on how to like help our funding strategy by utilizing crypto. And at the end of the day, understand it the same way understanding finance and having financial sensibility is really important. Every single person on the planet, if they don't switch on to crypto, it's like you're just going to be dead in the water in the future because it's going to govern everything. And we're already seeing it. It's going as it filters into finance more and more. I think yesterday BlackRock just opened it up on their market. There's now a live ETF on it in America. Shit's going crazy on the crypto front. And then eventually, what's going to happen to all of the fiat currencies and what's going to happen to the pound and the dollar? Like they're all going to change, but with the ledgers, with the blockchain ledgers and with NFT contracts, how you can then have like a security-backed asset in property. I can't say too much about it, but it's going to change everything and how you obtain finance. And we're trying to be well ahead of that curve to scale our business into the future.
What do you think outside of crypto you're not very safe?
What do you mean?
In terms of like you mentioned,
in knowledge,
you have to get into crypto at some point.
I think you definitely have to learn about it. It's like learning about how to breathe. I think it's like crypto. Crypto in 5-10 years will govern the planet. It already kind of is to some extent, which is why you see the congressional hearings in America where they're talking about how do we make sure we don't out-regulate crypto and scare it overseas. They're like, bring it back, shit. Because Singapore and all these other countries are seeing the opportunity. And as America starts taking something on board, everyone else does. It's the dollar that governs the world. So crypto is definitely the language of the future for finance, and it will be the language for property. Crypto, blockchain technology, asset-backed tokenized investments, that's where it's going to go. And bridging lenders, big commercial lenders, they're all going to switch up their strategies. It's going to be quite interesting.
So how does someone get knowledge about crypto?
YouTube, mate.
YouTube?
Yeah, that's where you can start. I start everything on YouTube. I'm like, podcasts, listen to some stuff, and then, buy the book, speak to the right people.
But there must be so many people on YouTube talking about crypto,
loads,
saying different things.
Loads, yeah.
So who do you listen to?
I started off by seeing this guy, the same way I saw Samuel Leeds, I saw this guy called the Coin Bureau guy. And he does like every day he's posting videos about updates in the market, and I was like, it's quite interesting, this stuff. And I just started diving into it and read some books and some ebooks. There's loads of guys, there's so many people doing it, and there's a lot of people who are trying to, they're putting across their own coin or their own market. I ignore all that shit. I just want to learn about the technology behind it. And to me, the blockchain was always an interesting thing because of what it can do to the property market. It's mega, what it's going to do. And I was like, how can we take this? How can we make this our thing? And that's kind of what we're focused on.
I've got to take you back though. You said you don't give a shit about money.
Yeah, go on.
Explain that one.
Well, I lived a really happy lifestyle for about 8 years. Well, even longer, even in free running. Because I did free running before music. And that was basically, I worked as a lifeguard for like 1 day a week or something. Right. And that little money I made went on bus tickets. I worked at a pub as well, just because all I wanted to do was free run. I didn't really care about any money. I just wanted to free run and build a channel with my mates and have a laugh. Came into music and was like, I want to build something. And money as its own objective thing isn't very good for anything. Yeah. But as like a tool for liquidity in the economy or in your lifestyle or for building, if you do want to build things to a big scale, you do need to understand money. So it's sort of a byproduct of wanting to build things. And in property, the language is money. So you kind of have to learn about money, but if you care too much about making it, you end up I think going down the wrong paths. Like what's your reasons for wanting to do property? Is it money centric?
It is money, but it's not just having money, not just to be able to look at money and be like, oh, I have so much money. It's the byproduct of money, of what money can do. So for me, it will boil down to freedom. So having the choice to spend time with my kids if I want to. I've got no obligation to be anywhere. That's what it is, about the byproduct of money, time, and to be able to just do the things that I love doing. So like for me, and this is no problem with people that like expensive shit, cars, whatever, but when I think about making money, I never think about all the things I can buy with it. Straight away, it's just, now I can do what I want.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just that freedom. So for me, I think money's mega important. And everything I do, I will try and monetize it. And I think that's what I kind of want to get from this podcast, is that I think a lot of people's relationship with money is quite bad. They think maybe it's greedy, all rich people are evil. I just want to kind of change that narrative.
Yeah, mate. That's that financial sensibility thing, innit? Is understanding what the relationship with money is. Because money as itself, I mean, it got us out the caves, right? Like the actual exchange of value and being able to commoditize the exchange of value is what got us to where we are.
Yeah.
And that is now seen as digital currency and is going to be seen as crypto. Hence why it's so important, because you're talking about the thing that the reason me and you can engage now and it be worth our time, and the reason you pay your rent, all those things are because money, we agree, has this inherent value. It's turning out that the money as we know it is changing to this new system. So it's important to understand that shift, and what that means is this knock-on effect across the whole economy. And learning and respecting money, everyone should know. And no one's taught it in school, because let's be real, it's not to the benefits of the government or the HMRC or other tax revenue systems around the world for everyone to know the loopholes in money and understand how to leverage finance and stuff. No one really wants, like the big banks don't want everyone to know about that stuff. They want you to take out a mortgage, borrow as much as you can and pay your interest. But there's a lot of things money can do that are bad, and there's a lot of things that money can do that are amazing. And understanding and respecting that, but not giving money itself an inherent value, because it's not going to give you a happier relationship. It ain't going to do any of that shit. It might get you a holiday, but you can also get a holiday without money. You can find other like frugal ways of doing things, like I did for 8 years. I just got shit for free because you build a brand. You don't necessarily need money to do things, but understanding money's role in life.
To do things in terms of what?
Like, what do you mean? Like,
you don't need money to do things. Like
if you can, because money is the exchange of value, right? So if you can build attention, you can exchange that value. So I've had 2 hair transplants, right? The first hair transplant I had to pay for a lot of money. Second hair transplant they gave me for free because I had eyes on me. I didn't have the money at the time to pay for a hair transplant. I had
2
nothing.
hair transplants?
2, mate.
Why do you need 2?
I was going bold.
Surely the first one sorts it, no?
No, mate, it didn't. I thought it would as well.
You had to go back to it's a bad job, you had to go do another one?
No, it was a good job, to be fair. I was just losing it quick.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
right,
mate.
right.
That was a sad thing. I lost it by like 21. I had a receder. And by 24, she was way back there. Pretty much really thinning. You can still see it's a little bit thin now, probably in the light. But the second one I got for free because we had built that value, and it's the same with property. If you can bring value to the table, then it makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a really good point, and that brings back to the point where where people get stuck about not having
money.
There's different ways to get.
Put sweat equity on the line, then. Yeah, put your time in.
Just involved in property, dabbling in crypto. You got eyes on any other streams of income?
Nah, man.
Building what you got.
Yeah, literally just property. The only reason I want to do property is because of I want to build a sustainable living. To me, is the future and the exciting thing. Yeah. I've spoken to Anthony a little bit about this before as well, and the idea of co-living and people living together and like making our living environments much more interesting and engaging and healthier is, to me, the exciting thing about property. The money is, you get to a point you're making 3-4 grand a month. Why do you need more? Because you want a bigger house, bigger car. Like, there's got to be a good reason. Yeah, no, but as in like, why? Like, what's the point? Is it because of a family? If it's a family, then sure, maybe 5-10 grand. But do you need 100-200 grand a month? Like, really? Or is it just to stimulate other things? But why? God, this is an interesting one.
Because I think, I'm going to be real, I think someone that thinks like that, and it's up to you, you can do what you want, but I think someone that thinks like that is a bit selfish, because you're only thinking about you and just your maybe immediate family. But when I think about times where I can make impact or help other people, I always feel like you need to go for more than you need.
Oh no, that's different though. I'm talking about what's my take home for my family.
Oh, your take home.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, in terms of the business, mate. £1 million a month, go and like build shelters, like do everything. That's the cool ambition. But a lot of people don't do that. They're like, I'll do that. They'll start making the $1 million a month and go. Just before that though, I'm just going to buy this other house. I was going to buy a second car. I was going to treat my wife to another holiday. And there's money can create distractions and those sorts of things. And I think it's important to like set a good narrative from the start. Follow that narrative, and then at some point when you start making 100 grand a month, you start knowing what to do with that money. You start to take it.
But I don't think there's much problem with that as well. Like, it's quality of life. I think if that's what you like, how you like building, people might like cars. I do get it, but I do think if you do make that kind of money, I do feel like there should feel some sort of do your obligation to impact others, and that's what I think making money is about. And then when I talk about the money game, like any other game, there's objectives, and I feel like one of them is, I don't think you're winning at the money game if you just keep all the money to yourself. Part of the money game and part of winning the money game is making all this money. Have your fun, but it's also how can you make an impact and how can you improve things around you or around the world, or and just I think with money you can travel, meet new people, impact more people. So I think that's what it's about, and I think that's what the money game is getting to that point to get yourself into a powerful position where you can start impacting people and just live a better quality of life.
Yeah, man. No, I agree. But I think the why is the important factor there. Like, what are you do? Like, to me, I want to make lots of money to put it into sustainable living and design. Because there's only so much money I need personally. Just beyond that.
So you're producing.
Waste
your money. You're producing.
Rather
than just consuming all the time. And
exactly. I have lots of like conversations with people about consumption levels these days. I think it's ludicrous what people spend money on. It's mental. And producing. Make money to produce.
So that's what it was, and I think that's why a lot of people kind of resist and resent money a little bit, because their mindset on money is like what you said, just buying cars or buying a big house. There's a deeper meaning,
way cooler things you can do with
deeper
it.
Relationship to it. 100%. Before we wrap this up, I wanted to do a quick, more of like a funnish round where I'm going to give you quick fire questions. Don't peek.
All right.
Okay. Well, we just kind of left off on this. So, how much is rich to you?
I'd say if you're making 10 grand a month net, so that's your take, then you can pretty much live a happy lifestyle, fund a family, and go on holidays. You're then, to me, you're in the rich realm.
What about as in like cash in the bank?
£1 million, maybe? I mean, you can spunk a mil pretty quick, but I mean, if you've got a mil, you've got some purchasing power, right? So,
you guys agree with that? Mil?
I mean, it's getting worse every year, so like be 2 mil next year.
Buy or rent your residential house?
Depends on your circumstance. I plan on owning in the future when I've got kids. I want an unencumbered asset. Absolutely. I want to own it, build my own kitchen. I want to do all my own shit. But for now, rent. If at the start, keep it frugal, rent.
What's the biggest risk you've taken?
Fucking loads.
The biggest?
I used to hang off cranes in free running. One-handed. There's lots of videos online of me doing it. And I mean, if you're talking about genuine risk, I did have a fuck up actually on one of them. I got very lucky. There's some scaffolding, the coupler on the scaffolding came loose and I happened to land on the plank below, but a lot of the scaffolding didn't have the planks of wood on it, so if I'd have been on another scaffolding, It's about 17 stories up.
Jeez.
And the cranes were like 30, 40 stories. It was a nuts. It was weird.
I don't think anyone's going to top that one, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's genuine. Like, I would have died quite a few times. The videos are all online and shit. It's quite mad stuff.
What about financial risk?
The pub, definitely. The first one, yeah.
Good question I wanted to ask you. So obviously you built, you know, a really big band with a big following, which I guess automatically would have brought on a lot of haters.
Yeah, loads.
Yeah, you get a lot of hate.
Fucking loads, yeah.
What kind of hate did you get?
There's loads of people saying you're all this and that, all these sort of names that you can't get away with saying online nowadays.
Yeah.
I loved it, mate. I always.
So that's the next question. How did you deal with it?
I love hate, mate. I love it. I've never really given a shit about what people say about me online. I milk the
elaborate
train.
To people that are kind of struggling with that.
I say this to fans as well, and people who like what I'm doing. And I'm like, look, at the end of the day, you're a stranger to me. Like, I can't have a relationship with you where I care about you and your day. I can just appreciate that you're supporting. The same way, like, and I'll try and show that in these other ways, because I don't want you to think that I could possibly care about you and actually be there for you. Yeah. And it's an important dialogue to have if you've got fans, especially of a younger age. And if that's your relationship, is that it's like, look, this is purely if I'm entertaining you, great. Beyond that, it's nothing else. Mm-hmm. If I'm entertaining you, that's a cool thing. If I'm helping you, that's a cool thing. If you don't like what I'm doing, whatever, I don't give a shit. Yeah. Like, that's as simple.
But you wouldn't explain that to every single person that hated on you. So I guess, did it ever get to a point where like it got
no.
The rest of you know?
I've been called everything as well. Like we trended on Twitter 24/7 all the time, every day, with some seriously twisted hashtags, like all kinds of words that I don't know about saying online nowadays.
Right.
Stuff, because people can take things and like.
So why do you think you're so thick-skinned? Is that the way you grew up, or?
Probably, and we bounced around a lot of new schools, a lot of new houses, new places. We moved around a lot, and you get to understand different social dynamics. You start to see, like, you know, what different people are like, and you sort of appreciate that as long as you get along with yourself, why don't you give a fuck what people think?
Yeah.
As long as you're doing things for the right reasons and stuff. Take on advice, take on criticism, but if someone just wants to poke you, like my Twitter description is poking the monkey cage. I just think it's funny to go on there, drop some shit, and just see what people say, because why does it matter what someone says online? Most people who do put effort into saying shit online is because they've got some serious deep void in their life that they're missing out on. So I just feel sorry for people, really. But I've never bought into it or tried to retaliate or anything like that.
What about other members in the band? They struggle with it?
Yeah, some people do get crippled by it. Yeah, some really bad shit. It's just how different people take it on, right?
Yeah.
Some people just take it well, some people don't. What about you with the football stuff? How did you deal with it?
Yeah, I think it was harder when I was younger. I should read into it a little bit more. But for me, it was never what they said that affected me. It was more like I would get angry that the fact that they're trying to hurt me.
Yeah, you
so
think
it'd be
it's
more
personal,
anger. Like I'd literally want to like meet up with this guy.
Yeah.
It wasn't like if someone called me, said I'm shit. I'd never think, oh shit, maybe I'm shit.
Yeah.
I would just think, just for the fact that he's trying to hurt me would piss me off.
Yeah.
That's about it. But then the more I've grown up, I'm really quite stubborn and hard-headed. So I'm kind of really similar to you. That's the point of like, I'll think about what they've said. Does it make sense? Half the time, 90% of the time, doesn't make sense. So I'm very logical. I'll just move on. Doesn't make sense.
I would hope most people in this day and age have weathered the haters now to a point where everyone's sort of.
But
in the same
the level, like the level I get would be nothing compared to, someone else who's.
Bieber,
like
that guy's dealing with headline. It's different if your marriage is like up for speculation in the press and headline.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate there's whole different levels of it, and we've had it pretty easy compared to proper A-list celebrities and shit. But even then, I know quite a few of those guys, and I remember I don't know how much I can say about that sort of stuff. But I've met quite a few guys who are seriously in the public domain, and it's the same story for them. It's eventually your skin thickens and you've just got to have a detachment. Who cares what people think? Yeah.
Are you? Do you read?
Yeah, quite a bit. Not as much as I should be right now, though.
Give me 3 business/money books that you'd recommend.
Depends where someone's at their stage in life, but if let's say you start with nothing, you want to start to understand finance, read Rich Dad Poor Dad, Richard Kite.
No, it's not. It's around there.
Robert Kiyosaki. Oh, no, that's different.
That's the second one.
Definitely read that.
Yeah.
80-20 principle, and then understand the 80-20, because that is, again, another real fundamental methodology to apply to everything in life. 80-20 principle. I can't remember who wrote that. I'm quite known for being bad at names. I really like, so asking me names for stuff is really hard. And then Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. I'd say probably the first 3. Like you start to get an understanding of what money is.
Nice. 3 business mentors.
3 business. Do they have to be business?
Business, money, finance, is in that kind of category.
Business, money, finance.
Do you know, or any. It could be someone motivational, or do you know what I mean?
Only because I do think business translates across not just finance, it also lifestyle and things like that as well, right? And like so morals and stuff.
We can go to that category.
I'd say, just because I love him, a guy called Lawrence Krauss. Go and learn about Lawrence Krauss.
Right.
Super interesting guy. Or Christopher Hitchens in the same sort of realm. But in terms of business people, I mean, it's got to be that Elon Musk's got to be. He's top dog, isn't he? He's top boy. Mm-hmm. Elon Musk. There's a lot of guys who I could say their names, but they kind of grind on my tits, so I don't know. I don't know. I mean, to be fair, if in this day and age,
they know their stuff though.
Yeah, Gary, it's got to be Gary V, innit? The guy knows his stuff. Like, if you just wanna go and learn from the mogul that's doing it himself, why wouldn't you go to him? But I mean, you have to temper it because there's a lot of energy coming to the table.
Last question: 3 people that you recommend to come on this podcast that you know. Be careful who you pick, because I'm going to hold you accountable to get them on.
3 people I know. It's bad, man. I don't socialise enough.
Do you not?
No, not really.
I'm the same, you know.
Yeah, I'll just work.
This is a reason for me to do this.
It gives you an excuse to socialise. 3 people.
Give me one. Give me one. One very good one.
One very Blair Dreelan.
I don't know who that is.
That's the manager of the band. Yeah.
You guys know who that is? No.
See if you can get him on.
Is that a Vatner one?
No, it's the manager of the band.
Oh, is it?
I'd just be interested to see what he thinks about money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Get him on and dissect it.
Yeah.
No, interesting. No, cool. So thanks for being here.
All good.
And everyone, thank you for tuning into The Money Game. This episode, we played The Money Game with Rye Beaumont. Let me make sure I get that right. Listen, been a great one.
Yeah, safe one,
Really appreciate you having here.
Appreciate, thanks.
And we'll put your social medias down somewhere in the video if you've got any more questions or you want to follow his journey. And it'd be great to hear your thoughts on the show, and see you next episode.